Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's tutorial in which we'll be looking at defensive flying. I've had many requests and many questions over the years about defensive flying. How do I do it? What is important? And in this tutorial today I want to tell you about the things that I think are vital for defensive flying and the things you will most definitely need if you want to do well in the defensive flying department. Defensive flying for me starts and ends with camera work. Camera work is vital for you in this department because you have to look at your opponents and you have to base your movements on what the enemy does. This is absolutely vital, and if you do not have camera control, then you cannot defensive fly as well. So that really works together. So it starts there. What is camera work? Well, you see it already in the clips here. You got to be able to look at your opponent and to fly at the same time. You can do that by teaching yourself to take over the camera from the C key with the mouse and move your plane with the keyboard. So you got to learn how to fly with the keyboard and use the camera with the mouse. You see me doing that here, and it is for me the most effective way to do it and the way I taught myself how to have camera mastery. The learning process is long and terrible to do. You will first perform much worse than you used to do, but if you start doing that, you will have to practice a little bit in test flight. See if you can take over the camera with your mouse from the C key, let go of the C key and start maneuvering with your plane with the keyboard, and just practice. You can use test flight first and then move into matches, and well, I can tell you will crash into the ground first, you will press the wrong keys, but in the end you will learn it, and you really have to master camera work before you can start to think about defensive flying. Plane control is a second very important one. You have to be fluent with your plane. You have to be aware of air combat maneuvers, which you have to teach yourself. You have to be willing to work on one skill at a time. But you do not only have to be fluent with the plane when you fly in a straight line and you can see everything easily. You also have to be fluent with the plane when you're upside down, looking at your opponent, and you have a reversed angle of your plane. It is then that it is vital that you press the right aileron to move in the way that you want to go to get a shot on your opponent. And well, while learning this you will often press the wrong key and go the other way, but that is part of the deal. Plane control though is one of the most important things you do when defensive flying, and you gotta master it. It is one of those things, and it can be talked about 1,000 times, but you have to put in the time yourself. You have to look up air combat maneuvers. I have a playlist of air combat maneuvers as well, and I'm planning to add on to that even more. But you got to teach yourself air combat maneuvers and get a basic sense of what you can do with a plane. Once you do that and you have the plane under control together with camera work, you have the basics. Next to that then comes tactical decisions. Even if you are in the defensive, you have tactical choices, and the first of that, what is important, is to set up for the defensive moment. Sometimes you get surprised, very sometimes, and then it's just about reflexes, but very often you have time to set up for that defensive moment. Of course you're in the disadvantage as a plane comes from above, has more energy than you, and is attacking, but you still have minutes often, or at least close to a minute, when you see somebody coming from 5 kilometers going to 4, 3, 2. In that time you have time to set up your defensive moment. You have time to see what you want to do, and although it is not perfect for you, you still have a chance to set up the situation to a position that is most beneficial to you. Even in a defensive combat moment you have that chance. You decide also when it starts, because you are the one that starts your defensive flying, and that is still in your power, let's say, even in that moment. You also gotta think ahead and anticipate what your enemy might do. You will often actually be right after a certain amount of practice with that, and because your movement basically dictates what he will do, and many people actually then take the plane to where you think it would be, and you get better at assessing that and judging where it might be, and the more experience you have with that, the better you'll be able to decide what he will do and to base your movements off that. You can then push him into a direction where you want him to be, and then you are slowly mastering defensive flying, where you're not only responding anymore to what you're seeing, but you're also dictating slowly what your opponent will do by your maneuvering and by manipulating him into going where you want him to go. That is over experience, that will take time, but it is definitely possible. You will also have many situations where you face multiple opponents, and in multiple opponent situations you will have to eliminate people quicker and quicker. You have to take more risk in these kind of situations, and you have to make decisions on when and where you will take a head-on, for example, or not to take it. In a multiple opponent situation, I often almost subconsciously already take the decision to take it, because I know I have to take some people out. The longer it takes for you to take out the first opponent in, for example, a 1 versus 3, the more chance they will have to shoot you. You have to quickly eliminate them, and that means you got to take more risks. Here, for example, the situation already changed, and I do not take the head-on against this G2, while I did take it the moment before, because I was in more trouble in that situation. So adjust as it comes, and in multiple opponent situations try to take more risks, especially when the numbers are stacked heavily against you. After that, you have to execute your move. Sometimes you already think about a move you want to do. If this and this happens, you turn left, you expect the person to be there, and then you have a move in your mind what you want to do. Adjust according to what the opponent does, keep an eye on him, and finish him off with a well-placed shot. While doing all of this, your mindset has to always be focused on the opportunities, and you have to be very sharp on what the enemy does. See if he does what you expect him to do, or if he does something else. And if he does something else, you have to quickly adjust your plans. You always have to be quick on your toes in defensive flying, but you also got to be aggressive and smart at the same time, especially in those multiple opponent situations. Whatever the situation is though, you are the hunter, and a hunter who is pushed in a corner is a dangerous animal, and you will always be able to do something. And the more you do it, the more you will realize that this mindset that I was talking about is vital. Defeatist thinking and thinking like, oh, there's a Spitfire above me, I have no chance. This will often already lead to your death, because you are not thinking at that moment about your opportunities. You are not focusing on what you are supposed to be focusing at, and that is setting up the defensive moment how you want it to be, starting it at the moment which you feel is most opportune, and looking at your opponent, making decisions and thinking about how to get out of that. That is what you want to do. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, those damn Spitfires above me again, they are so overpowered, blah blah blah. That is not the mindset you want to be in defensive flying. You want to be absolutely sharp, you want to be crisp and clear and focused on your situation and getting out of it, reversing the situation and killing your opponent. And if you use your mind for that instead of defeatist thinking, you will have already won half of the battle. After that, it is about your skill and your experience, and skill you can work on and experience will come. If I can teach myself this, then guys, you are definitely capable of teaching it yourselves as well. I hope I gave you some information today that will help you in becoming a better pilot when it comes to defensive flying. It is a skill that requires several things of you, things you need to master: camera work, plane control while looking at your opponent, tactical thinking in a defensive situation, and your mindset needs to be on point. If you do all that right, you will become better and better at defensive flying as you get more and more experience in it. Guys, I hope it helped. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.